surprisingly, expressed a need for more programs that are kind of like justice based. So I have 3 points here that I'm going to hit when it comes to restorative justice and kind of taking that holistic approach, because there really is there's no quick fix when it comes to, really healing communities and healing trauma that has been, in these communities for generations. And I don't think any tribe or pueblo, doesn't have trauma at this point. So it's definitely a nationwide thing. And we got answers from youth from all over the country, talking kind of about the need. And I know that OJJDP is aware of that. And that is why there's a lot of grant funds that are going out, and that's amazing and that's great. And there are a lot of programs that are springing up all over the country. And so I think one of the things that was brought up as well in the town hall findings was that, it's not just money isn't going to solve the issue. We can have a program. If it's not ran by individuals who truly have a passion for helping and healing their community, it's not going to go anywhere, because this is a really difficult, trying line of work here. It's all encompassing, really. So my first point is healing to wellness courts. I found a quote from a youth, quote, "Operate more juvenile healing to wellness courts. I think there should be more group homes also, where juvenile offenders will have a place to stay instead of being held in detention centers. I think the group homes should be located on tribal land and operated by people who have the compassion and empathy for the client, but someone who can also give the client some structure in their lives." That individual definitely knows, like, the key word there is people who have empathy and passion. Having a juvenile healing to wellness court is great, and it's a step in the right direction. And that's where you have a team of people completely investing in this young person who needs these resources and getting those resources for them. And that right there is amazing. And that's what I believe every community needs. So that does take money and funding, but that also takes committed individuals and professionals to come into these communities and be able to help them and share those resources, share that knowledge. They talked about having a group home, which is based on tribal land, because a lot of the times tribal members are kind of relocated to maybe another state, another community, and that's where they get some rehabilitation. And this happens even with youth, maybe like even a town away, or, a couple hours away from, where they live. And then they come back, maybe they do well at that program, but then they come back and they're put into the same environment where they first were, started all those bad habits or started getting arrested and in trouble. And it just starts back up again, because you didn't really fix kind of the root of where it all started. They're back, they're interacting with their family. Maybe their mother or father have, issues with domestic violence, or they have their own substance dependency issues. And so I think instead of, taking individuals out of the community, we should be bringing resources into the community. And that includes bringing professionals into the community, professionals who are well acquainted with Native communities. And if they aren't, even if an individual is willing to learn and they're open to that, I think that's a beautiful thing, that they could get that experience inside or with a tribe or with, tribal peoples. The second point, less to do with professionals and coming into the community and more to do with just the community itself. A lot of the times we want change in our community, and there's a lot of tribal members that are, they like to identify all the issues. It's really easy for us to say, these are all the issues in our community, but then we don't do anything to help. So kind of talking about in the same vein that, like, money doesn't fix the issue on its own. We need committed individuals. That needs to come from the heart of the pueblo, of the community, of the tribe. And so building community involvement is something that is super difficult, super tough. And that's where a healing to wellness court program, say, may suffer in a community. If the community is kind of just wanting this one team to do everything and to heal everything, that's not how it works. It's truly a community effort. And that's how we see any change, is in community. And so that, I think the hardest thing is really involving the parents and the adults in the lives of the youth and helping them relate to one another. And so that goes along with mentorship, and getting adults and parents and even just young adults who may be just out of high school or college age, and getting them, involved with their community and starting youth councils. And, that doesn't have to involve money. It can just be a get together once a week, or, in COVID times, that could be frequent Zoom meetings and social media interaction. And, but that really has to come from the heart of the community and the leadership there. And even just with a few passionate individuals, they can really, if they're consistent, garner a lot of interest in like this specific cause for youth, and building the youth confidence, building their identity, and giving them an opportunity to speak. If the youth even have one representative who can, go to council and get the youth into that council room and help them brainstorm like their project ideas. And that's something that Unity does really well, is they equip youth with, these community project ideas and kind of how to plan them, how to implement them. And these peer-to-peer programs are just beautiful, because you have young adults helping, youth who are a little younger and possibly will walk in their footsteps. And so programs like the Healing Indigenous Lives Initiative are definitely amazing, and we need more of them. And I know there will be another generation coming up to also be peer guides, which is an amazing thing. It would be great if professionals would come in and kind of teach and share their knowledge, in one area. And it's basically like kind of connecting the dots. The community is the expert on itself. The professional is the expert in that area of expertise, of whether that's mental health or addiction or whatever that looks like. And so it's just connecting those two dots. And so that would be the professional conducting trainings in the community, but frequent trainings, and not black and white, boring trainings. I think the trainings and the conferences that people get the most out of are just hyper interactive. And it's kind of like, adults enjoy that, like how Unity does the icebreakers and stuff like that. Adults do enjoy those things too. They probably enjoy it more than the youth, to be honest. But it's just doing things. I think the adults need that attention too, because there are a lot of stuff going inside of them. And so, I have a 5-year-old son, and I know that he picks up all my bad habits. So we as the parents have to be able to recognize that we've passed these things on to our children, whether or not we intended to. So those trainings and conferences, I think obviously we should be having those like mental health first aid and suicide prevention conferences for the youth, and definitely directing stuff towards them, just like Unity does. But also we need professionals to provide those kinds of trainings for the adults in the community and the leaders, and really need to try to garner their interest in those things and investing in their youth. I think the biggest hurdle in getting the community to really band together and kind of, I guess, tackle these issues of maybe youth incarceration and, developing substance use addictions it's the issue of like the heart, because it's like, what does the community really care about? Because it's what you really desire, that's what you'll do. If you can say you want change, but if you don't actually want change, then no change is going to occur. So I think it's something that really, like I said, we can have all the money in the world, but it really does come down to our community effort and what we choose to do. So, if communities are applying for monies and grants, that's great. That shows that they're stepping forward and, wanting to learn. And so I would say the trainings from OJJDP, they're good, but they're pretty few and far between, and they can be a little impersonal. I know that personally in my position at the Pueblo of Poake Healing to Wellness Court, we've had a few trainers come out to our community and sit down with our team for like a few days. Like we did a 2-day training. We invited community stakeholders like the tribal officials, people who run the like social services department, people who are involved in education, the Boys and Girls Club, just people from all different areas of the community. And we got together and we really, we talked and we diagnosed or tried to diagnose these issues. Well, why is there, why are kids dropping out of school? Why is the truancy rate so high? And, what's up with this whole vaping thing? Like, we were really getting into these specifics about what was going on in our community. And it was a beautiful thing. And we all left feeling like rejuvenated, like we had this new motivation to go forward, and we all had the support of each other. And with that core group, it started to kind of, it kind of would spread. And so we got more support. But then what happened was we stopped doing those kinds of trainings. And I know it's a tremendous, I know it's a lot for the trainers to come out and, lend 2 days to one community. And there are so many communities in the nation that probably need that kind of attention. But it was really valuable. And I think that continuing to do retreats such as those for the programs who kind of have these grants, I think that would be super beneficial to them. And so I'm kind of getting off on the Healing to Wellness Court, but the 3 points, just to reiterate, the 3 points are, there's no quick fixes. And so investing in the youth is really the way to go. Investing in the community will directly invest in the youth. And so we kind of start with, we need that professional help, and that would ideally come from the grant monies, the professional help. And then the professionals kind of come in and they really lend what they can to the community and create connections with the community members and help lend them knowledge, so that the adults in the community, it's kind of like a self-sustaining thing. Like they have the knowledge, they have the passion, and they're able to really start approaching the root cause of some of these issues, like, juvenile incarceration and those developing substance use dependencies. So just a few things to leave you with, or just one quote to leave you with from the town hall findings, the Healy town hall findings. This is from a Pacific Native youth. And they said, quote, "I think implementing a framework that doesn't only punish the youth for bad behavior, because punishment leads to more bad behavior. And instead, we could provide programs that could improve the lives of Indigenous youth. Some of the youth in the communities come from traumatic childhoods, and it drives them to be a bad kid. But if they realize their own potential and are given support, they could thrive and live out their full potential." And I just think that's so well put. That's such a beautiful quote. And there's a lot in there as well. There's a lot of trauma in these communities, and connection is really connection is the solution to kind of all of these things. And I know that sounds too easy, but it's really connection that people need when they're lacking something in their lives. But it's getting and establishing and keeping that connection that's really the tough part.
The Unity Peer Guides are here to help. We know that together we can heal our communities. The Healing Indigenous Lives Initiative is supported by a cooperative agreement between Unity Inc. and the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention.